Well, welcome, ladies, to episode 2, the stress bucket. How your overflow bucket is impacting your metabolism. Now, picture this: you're standing in your kitchen, washing a sink full of dishes that nobody has helped you with. And that tap is running full ball into a coffee mug. And guess what's happening? Well, it's overflowing, of course. Now, imagine that mug is your stress capacity. And in modern life, that relentless tap never stops running. Ladies, welcome to the Metabolic Alchemist podcast. I'm your host, Carla Gallagher, and today we're diving into what I call the stress bucket theory. The real reason you're feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, and maybe even packing on the kilos despite your best efforts. And after my last episode, the cortisol conspiracy, many of you messaged me asking, but hey, Carly, where is all this stress actually coming from? I don't feel particularly stressed, but I'm putting on all this weight. Well, a buck up because your body might disagree. And today I'm showing you exactly why your stress bucket is overflowing without you even realizing it. Now, let's get something straight. Stress isn't just about having demanding boss or teenagers who make you want to pull your hair out. That's just the obvious stuff. The sneaky reality is that your body registers stress from sources you might not even think are bad, even sometimes healthy. First up, your healthy exercise routine, that hour-long HIIT class followed by a 5K run the next day, to your prehistoric hormonal system, though, it's registering as running from a lion day after day after day. And this is what I mean when I talk about over-exercising. It's not about the activity necessarily itself. It's about the stress response it creates when we don't allow our body to actually rest. Then there's your clean eating diet. Let me guess. Skipping out on calories, skipping out on breakfast, thinking that's what intermittent fasting is. Newsflash. Severe calorie restriction is a massive stressor. Your body doesn't think, oh, how virtuous, she's watching her figure. No, she's actually saying to you, shit, starvation mode, emergency, store fat now. No, don't know when we're going to eat again. That's exactly what your body's saying. Can't you hear it? When you think intermittent fasting is all about skipping meals, it's actually another drop in your stress bucket. No, intermittent fasting is about eating all your meals in an 8-hour feeding window. Yes, that's 3 main meals and a snack if you want to make sure that you're having a healthy calorie intake. And I can delve onto that more later. But anyway, there's all those other healthy meals. One that comes to mind, acai bowls with granola. Yes, those are basically just high carb, sugar, fat bombs in disguise, spiking your insulin and further dysregulating your hormones. And this triggers, that cascade of stress in your body that has no visible symptoms except stubborn weight gain around the middle that won't budge. And although we love those acai bowls because they're high in antioxidants, they're not necessarily going to marry up with our hormonal metabolism after 40. And look, we haven't even touched on the conventional stresses yet, the work deadlines, the financial pressures, the, relationship dynamics, the endless notifications on your phone from Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, X, whatever, the news cycles that make you feel like the world's ending, and all the mental load of managing everybody else's schedules in your family. Hello, football mums out there. Should I go on? Okay, let me describe this overflowing bucket for you. Here is what's happening. Each of these stresses, the over-exercising, the under-eating, the poor sleep, the work pressure, the family demands, all of that is kind of pouring into this bucket. Drop, 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 day after day after day. And this reminds me actually of an Instagram video I saw of a lady today who's like poo-pooing all of us saying, manage your cortisol and stress. It makes you healthy. She was basically saying, hey, if I hear nothing in the house, then something is wrong. And therefore, I need the house to be, neurotic for me to basically know that everything is running well. Well, I would actually love to sit down with this lady and see what she feels like after a week on the beach of massage and rest and relaxation, because I don't think anybody would be saying, hey, I want to leave the beach and my beautiful massages and nourishing rest routine to go back to a neurotic household that has me running around 1,000 miles an hour. No, look, hey, if you want stress in your life because it makes you feel like you're a better mum, then you go for it. You're probably not watching this video anyway. But if you actually want to feel happy and less stress, then listen up. Look, a little stress is normal, and I'm not saying that we can't, live with some stress. But when your stress bucket is approaching the brim, that's when things get a little bit dicey for your metabolism. And not only for your metabolism, but just think about your overall health. After all, we're in the business of preventative medicine, and we want to prevent illness, not manage it once it's already there. And you know what the kicker is? Most women don't even realize their bucket is full and almost over the brim until it's overflowing. And then it starts to manifest as a chronic health issue like obesity or diabetes, or what about just normal stuff like, fatigue. All of those things are all just little signs that your body is overstressed. In particular, some of those inflammatory things that just keep popping up, which I will do some podcasts about later. But you know what we do? We often then just label it as perimenopause or menopause, when in fact we actually have some accountability in this mess of a bucket. And the truth is, we're not actually going to be ever able to empty our stress bucket in this modern world, unless you go off grid. But even then, you're going to be having some stress, right? What if your sewage tank overflows? Who's going to come and clean it up? What I'm saying is you just can't necessarily quit your job, abandon your family, and move to Koh Samui, where we're having our retreat later this year, and meditate all day. Although I do often think about that as a good option. Anyway, look, there is some good news. You don't need to empty the bucket completely. You just need to create some space so that we can keep it from overflowing, and just do enough that can actually make a positive impact on your metabolism. And there's even better news. The areas where you have the most control are actually the biggest contributors to your stress bucket. And they're the things around your choice of foods, your choice of exercise, your lifestyle practices, and also your emotional well-being. Hey, there's no need for HRT. Just change some of these things and see how amazing your body responds. So let's start with what's on your plate. Yes, in my methodology, the first pillar is about eliminating inflammatory food groups. Think about gluten, sugar, cow's milk, dairy, seed oils, processed foods. There is a blog on my website about this if you want more information. Look, these actually triggering what we call as an inflammatory response in your body. And inflammation is interpreted by your body as a stressor. It's like having a constant low-grade infection that your immune system is always fighting. This takes away from really precious resources that are basically involved in metabolizing fat and balancing hormones. And, I think some of you are thinking, well, what's wrong with cow's milk, dairy, and gluten? They've been around. Look, some of these are actually considered normal food groups. They're not like a chemical synthetic, additive that's creating, ADHD. No, some of these just create an inflammatory response, and it's about the inflammation. And I want you to take away Just take away the inflammatory part. Not everybody responds the same way to foods. And mostly as we get older, we respond a lot less to some of those foods in a positive way. It's also about being mindful of not stressing your bodies out with metabolizing too many carbohydrates, whether they're healthy or not. We need to actually rest this part of our digestion. And when we stick to certain targets within our carbohydrate macros, and I talk about the 60 to 80 grams a day target, then we actually can rest our body from over trying to metabolize carbohydrates, get that insulin receptive response working properly for us, and actually prevent some weight gain around the middle. It's not about necessarily taking all carbohydrates out. We're just resting it from overconsumption of a lot of the carbohydrates that we think sometimes necessarily are helping us, but they're actually just burdening our body and putting more stress into the system. At the same time, we need to also focus on increasing nutrient-dense foods. And I talk about this. It's not necessarily about calories. It's about making sure that we're eating enough for our adrenals, enough quality proteins, enough healthy fats for our cholesterol, avocados, olive oil. What about all of those beautiful, colorful, polyphenol-rich foods, berries, the reds and the greens and the yellows, all of the colorful foods in our diet that provide us most of our micronutrient vitamins and minerals. And they're actually helping to actively manage our stress as well. What about all of the beautiful bone broths, fermented foods? There are adaptogenic foods like cacao, I talked about in the last episode. These medicinal foods directly support your body's nervous system response as well. And they're like little soldiers helping you fight that stress from the inside out. Now, let's move on to movement, that second pillar in my methodology that addresses the over exercising that I see, and also some of the under exercising. So in the metabolic exercises we use in my programs, we completely flip the script on what exercise should be like. Instead of those hour-long punishing sessions or walks or runs that leave you either adrenally fatigued or just not triggering fat burning at all, we instead focus on strategic, short, intense workouts that are designed to trigger fat burning but not trigger that cortisol stress response. And they're done in just under 20 minutes, and we do them 3 times a week. The focus is that after one of those exercises, the next day is all about rest. And it's not about being lazy. It's not about, only doing just enough. It's actually understanding that exercise is a stressor, a little bit challenging to your body in a good way, but too much of it actually can overwhelm our body, and we don't get a chance to recover. We're not 20 anymore. So let's think about how we can work smarter in those workouts and incorporate those restorative movements like yoga, stretching, or walking the next day. With those restorative movements the next day, we can actually help empty the stress bucket, repair and regrow some of those muscles. And so we're doing the right amount, but not doing too much. The goal isn't to avoid all exercise, it's just to find the right zone without actually impacting our stress bucket even more. Now let's move on to the third pillar in our methodology, and that's improving our lifestyle factors. This starts with, the non-negotiable basics, which is get to bed by 10 p.m. You want to try and get a minimum 7 to 8 hours good quality sleep in a night. Make sure that you're not reading your phone before you go to bed. Give your brain a little bit of rest time. Maybe incorporate a novel before bed. What about things like infrared saunas, float tanks, and simple things like a massage? They're not really just luxury treatments. Although we do label them as luxury, we shouldn't be labeling them as luxury. We should be labeling them as mandatory. And they're strategic. We can help use these interventions to reset your nervous system. It's kind of like hitting the release valve on that stress bucket of yours before it kind of gets to the overflow stage. Now, let's also talk about the most critical, overlooked aspect of stress management, and that is, ladies, boundaries. Yes. As women, we have been conditioned to be available for everybody at all times of the day for everything. I know as a mother, and even if you don't have children, you are carrying this mantle with you around being there for everyone, but not necessarily there for yourself. So service to others, it's kind of like a badge that we wear as well. And, the mental load of managing everyone else's lives, everyone else's worries, while barely managing our own is sometimes the heaviest weight in that stress bucket. It's time for a radical idea. Your time and energy are finite and they should be protected. So instead of keeping you up at 2 a.m. in the morning, let's get those thoughts out on a piece of paper before you go to bed. So a practical tip is to stop carrying them into your dream state and start putting them onto a piece of paper for the next day. And I'm talking about those things that, are like a mental inventory, like the household supplies, birthday gifts to buy, appointments to schedule. All of that is taking up really valuable mental space in your head, and it's stopping you from properly sleeping. So pop them down, make sure that you are writing it down with the intention that you've got it captured and it can wait till the next day. And if you do wake up in the middle of the night with this amazing new business idea that you just actually have to implement at 2 a.m. in the morning, I want you to remember, there's a piece of paper beside my bed and I can just pop it down and deal with it the next day. In fact, it's actually a very popular meditation tip to recognize that thought, say hello to it, and let it go. And I want you to get into the practice of that as well. And don't forget, there is also something called delegation. And this is something that can be your superpower. Have you ever considered a virtual assistant? Get somebody else to handle your online shopping, your appointment scheduling, and research tasks. It's not a luxury. It's actually an investment in your health. But if that's not up your alley, what about your children? Yes. If they're old enough to operate a smartphone, then they're old enough to contribute to the household as well. And this isn't about being a mum tasker. It's about raising capable humans. Why can't we use them in our lives? Create a rotating, roster where age appropriate, of course. Young kids can, sort out laundry and set the table, and older kids can actually start cooking. Get them to cook meals or iron their clothes. I regularly tell my 15-year-old daughter, who refuses to iron her clothes, that my mum used to make me iron my school uniform and make myself Vegemite sandwiches when I was in grade 1. It's actually a true story. Look how I turned out. I'm a capable human being. I have really big concerns for my 15-year-old daughter. I'm sure she'll be fine. But it is actually an important thing that we have to bring our children up to accept that they have responsibilities. And what about those partners? Yes, we need to be clear at communicating with them too. No more hints or assumptions that they should just know what needs to be done. Let's set clear requests with specific work outcomes rather than vague complaints. Could you be in charge of dinner on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I'm doing X, Y, and Z? It's more effective than complaining to your girlfriends that you've got a useless husband. But the most revolutionary boundary you need is protecting time for yourself. And I want you to literally take out your calendars right now. Yes, now. I will wait. Okay. You've got a calendar or at least a piece of paper. I want you to find 2 30-minute blocks this week that is just for you, and label them important meeting in your diary, because that's exactly what they are. It's a meeting with yourself, with your health, with your inner child, with your well-being. Then The crucial part about this is then putting that calendar on the fridge so everybody knows. And then you make an announcement at dinner to say, everyone, these are important meeting times. And unless somebody's bleeding or the house is on fire, I'm pretty much unavailable during those times. So this is just announcing your intentions and putting the boundary in place. And this isn't flexible time. Okay. It doesn't shift when somebody else's needs arise. It's the non negotiable. Just like a school pickup, you have to pick your kids up. Well, this is like, I have to do mummy time. And what you do in that time is completely up to you. Maybe it's just going for a walk outside. Maybe it's a cup of tea or simply sitting and breathing or umming and chanting. It doesn't matter about the content. It just matters that you're setting the boundary and then you're committing to that time for yourself. And by physically blocking that time and verbally establishing its importance to everyone, you're setting up this space for healing. And you're modeling healthy boundaries for your entire family along the way. Now, with those important boundaries in place, you can focus on your fourth pillar, which is your emotional well-being. Things like aromatherapy, meditation, yoga, omming, or simply walking in nature. They're just not just nice to haves. They're real medicine for your nervous system. And these practices actually activate what we call the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest response, which is what I called last week the, oh, I don't give a shit about the lion response, which is really a physiological opposite to the stress response. So here they are, literally helping you unpack and empty that stress bucket on a biological level by lowering cortisol, increasing that feel-good neurotransmitter like serotonin and GABA, the one that helps you sleep, especially when you go to to-do list. You're actually protecting them. And you're doing this as part of your mummy time. And so, a word about meditation. Not everyone needs to meditate. It's a great practice and I love it. And if I, had a better mummy time boundary around it, I would be a lot better. But sometimes it can be just dancing in your living room or singing out aloud, sing like no one's listening and dance like no one's watching. That'll really help your nervous system unwind. And it probably might increase somebody else's stress bucket by watching you, probably my 15-year-old daughters. Anyway, remember, if you want more specific information about other things that can help your nervous system, like plant medicine, herbal support, nutrients, vitamins that help manage that stress bucket, make sure you go back to episode 1, the cortisol conspiracy, where I dive deep into the adaptogens and nutrients that can support your adrenals through stress. Now, let's move on to pillar 5. It involves, bringing in some professional reinforcement, like myself. Yeah. Look, even if it's not me helping you, regular body work or health work like naturopathic protocols to address gut issues or other issues, or a regular chiropractic or regular massage or regular acupuncture, it doesn't, it's not there to make you necessarily just feel good. It's actually communicating to your body that your nervous system needs support, and we're doing this practice to help unstress that nervous system. And think of these therapies like maintenance. If you think of it like maintaining your car or cleaning out your gutters of your house, they're preventative. And that's what I'm in the business of, preventative care that helps basically ensure your stress management systems are functioning optimally. And I'll tell you about this one thing that's important in my pillars for health. It is about the fact that I can't personally afford to be unwell or in pain or have my body not working for me, because it's actually my livelihood. And guess what? It's also yours. If you're unwell, you can't work. If you are unwell, you can't care for those who need you. So why do you put the most important part of your lives last? We're women, I know, but Schedule at least one session a month and put it into your calendar as a non-negotiable appointment. My body is screaming at me that I need regular massage because my shoulders are always tight. I'm getting these migraines, which I was doing it must be perimenopause. But actually, when I got a massage, she said, are you getting migraines because your neck is so tight? And I was like, oh my God, I did not prioritize mummy time around massage. So I made it a commitment. Yes, there's a financial investment in it, but the cost of not being able to work is greater than the cost of getting a massage once a month or once a fortnight. And hey, I pay for private health insurance, so why aren't I using it to its full capacity anyway? Remember, it's preventative medicine. So let's get down to action. How do you start emptying that stress bucket straight away? Here's your action plan for the week. First, let's do a stress audit. Where is your stress coming from in your life? Get out a piece of paper and I want you to start scribbling it all down. And remember to look beyond the obvious ones like work and family stresses. I want you to really sit down and examine your exercise routine. Are you getting adequate rest days? Are you over exercising? Are you not exercising the right way for fat burning and, nourishing your nervous system? What about your diet? Are you overeating healthy foods, undereating any foods, your sleep, your other health practices? I want you to identify them all one by one, and then I want you to make one change in each of those areas. For food, let's try eliminating just one inflammatory food group this week, or about being religious about keeping your carbs below 80 grams a day. And what about exercise? Why don't you replace one of those crazy workout routines you're at the gym with a smaller session or a yoga class? What about lifestyle? Commit to at least a 10 p.m. bedtime routine. That is harder for some than others, but your body will actually love it, especially the stress bucket. And then also for those boundaries, remember, block those 2 30-minute mummy time sessions in and announce that to the family. And what about your emotional well-being? I want you to try just a 5-minute meditation, or better, pop in a monthly massage appointment. If you're paying for it in private health, like I said, you may as well use it. And remember, we're not trying to empty the bucket completely. That's completely unrealistic. And I'm a realist, of course. We're just creating enough space so it starts working properly for us. We don't want it to be an overflowing situation. We want it to be a manageable position. That bucket needs to be able to be carried. So your stress bucket didn't just fill up overnight, and it's not going to empty overnight either. But each small action you take creates more space, more breathing room, more capacity to handle what life throws at you. Remember, your hormones are like an intricate symphony, with each element playing a crucial role in its overall harmony of your health. And when you address multiple areas of stress simultaneously, you can create a powerful synergy that makes your journey to hormonal balance smoother and more sustainable. Next time on the Metabolic Alchemist, we'll dive into the mysterious connection between sleep and your metabolism and why those 2 a.m. wake-ups might be sabotaging your weight loss more than the occasional cookie your husband cooks you. Until then, I'm Carly Gallagher, reminding you that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your health isn't adding more, it's taking away. Here's to lighter stress buckets and smaller jeans. And that's a wrap. Phew. If something clicked for you today, I've got all the links to my favourite products, supplements, and exactly where to buy them waiting for you in the show notes. No hunting required. Want more personalised support? I totally get it. This journey can be overwhelming when you're doing it all on your own. Whether you're ready to jump into my one-on-one coaching programs or test it out first in my online metabolic flash course, I've got your back. Just head to the show notes for the links to those pages or my website, inner-alchemy.com.au, and let's turn those frustrating symptoms into your comeback story. Because honestly, the best version of you isn't in your past. She's waiting on the other side of these new rules. Until next time, remember, Work smarter, not harder. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you in the next episode.